Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Royal Instinct. Today we're going to be watching a video about cults, and just as a warning, they're going to be talking about my most favorite subject, suicides. There's nothing more fun than a good suicide story, but I'm clearly kidding, joking. Relax, fucking hell. But yeah, we're going to be talking about cults, and I just thought it'd be an interesting, different video to watch. Let's see what he's got to say.
Just a heads up, in this video I will be talking about cults and suicide. Imagine
Fun.
it's the mid-90s, and in this hypothetical, you're really into that weird horse sport with the sticks, polo, and you want a website. So you get in touch with a local web design company because you like what you see. They've got this cool portfolio of graphics and other people's websites. They know what they're doing, man. They got GIFs, JavaScript, and systems analysis, whatever the hell that is. So you work with them, they know exactly what they're doing, they're great, and before you know it, San Diego Polo Club is live. Baby, you're part of cyberspace. Yup. The website's good to go. And as for that web design company, you thank them. Then a few months later, you see that they're front page news because all 39 people who were there are found dead in what the media is calling a ritualistic mass suicide. They were.
I mean, that's not the most cheery subject, is it? Why am I making this video? What's the purpose of this channel? This channel is about you creating a following, you having fame, being the leader that the world needs. The world is full of gullible people. The world is full of souls who are looking for guidance, who are looking for a better future. And then a lot of the time what happens is people and big companies, governments, they understand this human need that people are searching for, and they present a alternative route, an alternative philosophy, way of life, of alternative culture to try and amass these people. Okay, and they get tricked and duped into these outlandish cults, into these strange new religions, and a lot of these people get hurt. I mean, in this case, a lot of people died, and it is very sad. And hopefully, you watching this at home, it also makes you sad. And you might think, turn around to me and say, well, what can I do? I'm just a lonely person here by myself. I'm trying to sort my own fucking life out. You know, times are going to get more tougher, and during times of recession, during economic crisis, people turn to more spirituality. They turn to more they search for leaders. In essence, they search for answers. And what I want you to do, what I'm searching for, is this is a bat signal, a bat call out into the world to look for 100 people who understand what I'm doing, who understand the message that I'm trying to convey, to understand that you know that we are near end times, that AI is going to displace a lot of people are going to be hurt, and a lot of people are going to need leadership. And I want to search for these 100 people who have it in their blood and understand that they are destined for greatness, that they are destined to be kings. Build them up to be kings so they can become famous and be good leaders for the benefit of humanity, to take these people um, who otherwise will end up in these death cults, to end up in following you as their leader, to take them to a better path, a better future, so they won't get mistreated.
Found with some coins in their pocket, wearing matching tracksuits, and they were all eerily in Nike decades. That website design company that you went with, Higher Source, turns out that they had another identity. Heaven's Gate, one of the most infamous doomsday cults in history. This video is about the similarities between businesses and cults, and it's not a trivial video, and I'm not.
And these cults, that they didn't have the best of interest for these people. And then a lot of these new startups, right? Apple's a cult. WeWork was a big cult. They paint themselves as these, super hip um, tech startups from Silicon Valley, and in the end, it's just another cult. And they float these companies on the stock exchange, make billions, pull out all their money, and then there's a massive rug pull. People lose their livelihoods, people lose their reputations, people lose their their place in the world. And you have to think, what is the need that these companies are fulfilling, like, and can you trust these companies, in essence? Like, can you trust that they have the best intentions for you? Can you trust these people that they want what's best for you? Like, even Facebook or these companies, they bring out the metaverse, they're going to plug you in. Is that truly for the betterment of you, of your life? You're going to spend more time online, okay, so they can make more money, but then what do you lose instead? You lose that human connection, you lose a dating life, right? You won't have a real life, just have this online life. Imagine going to a date and being like, oh, so what do you do all day? Well, I spend most of my time in the metaverse running around playing games. Do you get what I mean? It's like you're not going to be an attractive person. You're not going to have a dating life. You're not going to have anything. You're not going to add anything of value because you won't have the opportunity. So, and a lot of people are going to end up like that. And you might be thinking, well, what can we do about it? Well, it's down to you, for you to be the alternative to these cults, for you to take the people that would have joined these death cults, right? Because there's thousands more, right? They're still all over the world, and then take them to a better tomorrow, right? And how do you do that? Well, you have to become famous. You have to rise to the top. You have to become a king. You have to live like a king, right? And the consequences of you living like a king is, you end up with a life of luxury. Okay, you're gonna have to rise to the top. You're gonna have to be seen as someone worthy. If you believe it's your destiny, then you might be one of the 100 people that I'm looking for, and then alongside me and 100 other people, right? It would be hundreds of us building our kingdoms, rising to the top, amassing fame, amassing wealth, having the best opportunities, and then you'll be surrounded by people that you can actually trust. You'll be surrounded by people who, just like you, are on the same wavelength, who will respect you, who will protect you, who will give you good advice, who you might be very competent at finance, and then you can be, and your kingdom will be in the realm of finance, and then there might be someone else who has his kingdom in biology, and then the two of you might come together and start some sort of, some new startup, right, where you can solve, I don't know, Alzheimer's or some shit. I don't know. You're gonna have to discuss that amongst yourselves. You're gonna have to join the network to understand what's going on. If you want to, help people, if you want to allow humans to have a better tomorrow, if you are a good person, then it has to be you who steps up, because otherwise people will just end up in some sort of random cult where they get abused.
Not making this for trivial reasons either. I'm making this because currently it's a time of social and economic instability, and historically this is when cults tend to thrive. It's also when businesses do some pretty bizarre things. People need certainty, and cults give people certainty. Of course, nobody ever joins a cult outright. They'll join a lifestyle program, or they'll try to change the world, or maybe they'll get involved with a new business opportunity. The cult somebody joins isn't the cult.
Why is it people want to change the world? Because people want to have some sort of power, some sort of say for future generations, for people, because people, most people are good deep down. Most people have good intentions. Most people are good, but just don't have an outlet, a way to do it. Okay, and I'm telling you, the only thing that left is for you to be the person who's in charge, for you to be a leader. Everyone else is going to tell you to become a follower. I'm telling you to become a leader, right? No one else is going to tell you this shit, right? You're going to have to become a king. You're going to have to become the person in charge. Okay, it's going to be you in the driving seat, right? So you can save people, right? So you can save yourself. Like, you if you're watching this, you understand what's happening, what's coming. Digital central bank digital currencies are going to track all your finances. You're not going to be able, they're going to tell you what you can spend your money on, what you can't. They're going to tell you that you can't own any properties in the future, that you won't be able to start a family, that you won't, do you have a dating life right now that you're happy with? Do you get what I mean? You might have had sex once in the last year, but you end up, but there's people who are famous online who are sleeping with thousands of women a year. Okay, and it should be you instead of them. And if you understand what's happening in the world, if you understand the implications of social media and the internet, you understand that you need to become famous, you need to become relevant, you need to rise to the top, you need to be seen as a king to get the best opportunities that the world has to offer.
Cult that makes the news. They're insidious, and anybody can fall into the trap of joining a cult. In fact, it's one of the reasons that a lot of people don't like using the word cult, because of this emotional baggage. For some people, cult could just write off all religions. For other people, it's so broad that it could be anything from Jim Jones to TikTok hype houses. But personally, my least favourite thing about the word cult is how it others and blames cult victims. To call somebody a cult member, especially after they've passed on, it sort of puts them in a subhuman category. And this is awful for two reasons. The first is it sort of disconnects you from any empathy you might feel to that person as a person. But the second is it robs you of potential future diligence. It says they could be fooled, but I couldn't. And this, I think, is an incredibly dangerous myth. As for language, in this video,
you saw it during the 2020 pandemic. Everyone, 80% of people, right, got the jibby jabby, right? And like everyone out of fear bought into the cult of that this is what's going to save humanity. I didn't. I thought it was a load of nonsense. I thought I can't be asked with this shit. I don't trust it. And in the end, I was right. I mean, there's thousands of cases of people who have had vaccine injuries, and that these companies just used this time where people were scared to make millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions. Biggest culprit, Pfizer, and AstraZeneca made billions, right? And they sold it all across the world for your own protection. And this is what's going to happen in the future. These big corporations are going to take over. They're going to take you, strip you of your resources. They're going to dictate what you can and can't do. And the only way you can protect yourself is if you amass large amounts of wealth, if you amass your own kingdom, your own following, if you become famous in your own right. And if you're not willing to put in the work, if you're not willing to do this, and there's only a small window of opportunity left, you might have a year to do this, where you, before AI comes and replaces you in your job, right? There might be, it's literally in the next couple of years, like it's over, guys. Like I don't know what else to tell you. Like you're gonna have to go online. You're gonna have to become a subject matter expert in whatever thing that is that you are passionate about, and you need to start building a following, because that's the only way you'll be able to make any money.
I will be using the word cult, but not as a pejorative to other or blame victims. Instead, I'll be using it for the opposite reason, to illustrate how anybody can become a victim, and it's never the victim's fault. And yes, I'll be talking about it through the lens of startups. So let's begin. A good startup delivers on its promises. A good startup nourishes the needs of its customers, has transparency and integrity, and creates provisions for challenging its leadership openly. A good startup expands the freedom and well-being of its employees rather than limits them. That is a quote from the great and controversial Philip Zimbardo. Only it's not actually about businesses, it's about cults. I changed the words because it still makes sense that way. Because cults are a spectrum, and that spectrum often contains companies. And we're about to see just how blurry the line between those two things can get. There are a freakish amount of articles telling you that your business needs to be a cult. What? And the similarities make sense. In fact, the most obvious similarity.
Why is that? Because a cult builds a loyal fan base. A cult milks you of your resources, of your money, and even a country, even governments, want its citizens to be cult members, to buy into, like communism was a cult, right? And people bought into it, and thousands of people died. Bitcoin is a cult, right? Everything's a cult, right? Like is there isn't a scenario that exists where something isn't a cult. Okay, like you subscribe to something, you become fanatical, which is you become fan, you become fanatical, right? So the only thing that's left to do is to offer humanity a way to fulfill its needs of being a cult member, but in an environment where at least they're safe. And that's why you have to become a leader. It has to be you. You have to give an alternative to these people, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm looking for 100 people who understand the importance of what's to come, of being a leader, of rising to the top, of generating great amounts of wealth, and be seen as a king. Because if you're not a king, if you're just a normal average person in today's society, you are truly fucked. You are not going to have a life that's enjoyable. You are going to remain sexless. You're going to, and then what's going to happen is your life's going to go so shit that you're going to struggle so much in life that you end up joining a cult, and in the end, once you join a cult, you're truly fucked. You're going to get stripped of your resources, and you're going to wither away, get plugged into the metaverse, and live a life of a sad, lonely existence, in essence.
Clarity would be the founder slash cult leader. Yep, the person who leads. So in a cult, you've obviously got your charismatic leader. In a startup, you've got your founder. I'll start with the absolute.
And that word charisma is very important. If you are someone who is charismatic, if you are someone who is an effective communicator, if you have the ability to be a good communicator, you can amass a large following. You can amass a lot of attention towards yourself, and once you have a lot of attention on you, and you are able to communicate charismatically, you can start building a big following. Once you build a big following, you are seen as an authority in whatever subject it is that you speak on. Once you're seen as an authority, money starts coming your way, and the more money you make, the more you'll be seen as someone who's a king. And that's what I mean by building a kingdom, is by amassing resources, is by amassing a following. Because the more resources you have, the more land you can buy, the bigger the following you have, the more money you generate. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. If you believe that you were destined for something great, this is your moment in life. This is the moment where you decide that I want to do something great. This is the moment you decide that, you know what, like there's a lot of people who can get really hurt because they're not willing to be the leaders that the world needs. So therefore, you have to step up, become a leader, rise to the top, build your following, and by doing so, you save humanity, right? Like, and when I say we're going to the top, like, I'm building a network of at least 100 people, right? 100 people, 100 kings who all will rise to the top, become as famous as possible, overthrow people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. It'll be us taking over, starting companies. But because we are good people, because we have that relationship, because we have that respect and loyalty towards one another, we won't fuck over humanity. We won't do what the Economic Forum is trying to do, the World Economic Forum, to get rid of most of humanity, to make sure most of humanity owns nothing and remain happy. I mean, that just sounds like a fucking cult slogan. Right? You'll own nothing and be happy, right? It's false. It is a cult, and a lot of people are gonna get hurt. Okay, and a lot of people can't see that coming because they don't believe that they are being duped. Because to understand that you're being duped, you have to concede the fact that you made a mistake, and people don't like when they make a mistake. People don't like it when they are seen to fail. But it's nothing to be embarrassed about. This is this is the perfect opportunity for you to decide, do you know what, I got fucked over. I didn't understand how the world worked. I didn't understand how these big corporations, how these big governments, how the leaders are lying to us, how they're selling us out. And this is your moment to step up and be the leader that you needed, and be the leader for the world to guide them to a safer next evolution of humanity. And if it's not you, then who will it be? Right? Life's too short to wait and to wait for someone else to come step up. It has to be you. This is your call in life. This is the moment in the film where you decide that, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to step up. I'm going to become a king. I'm going to build a kingdom, and I'm going to make sure that people who follow me remain safe.
Worst example that I can. Jim Jones, a ridiculously charismatic leader who was also responsible for the murder of 917 people, including 276 children. In Guyana, he committed a gigantic massacre, but he was a charismatic leader on a grandiose mission. In fact, that mission was so pervasive that to this day, a lot of people still don't see Jim Jones as a mass murderer. They still believe that it was a consensual mass suicide. And that was how he branded it. Amongst his final words were that weird justification. He called the deaths a revolutionary act of suicide, protesting the conditions of an inhumane world. It's this sense of idealism that got him followers in the first place. Jim Jones genuinely wanted to change the world.
So they had a charismatic leader comes along and tells people to take this drink, right? And it will save them, right? It will cleanse the soul, or whatever it was, right? But there was that you do this, and then this will be the outcome. It's the same thing that happened with the jibby jabs. Do you know what I mean? There's like, you take this vaccine and it will save you. Okay. And the next thing, like we're already at war with Russia. There's a cold war between China and the West. If something was to happen, they'll come up with another solution and force feed that to you as well. They'll be like, you have to do this thing to be safe, and then you're buying into a cult again. Do you get what I mean? So these people are going to always get duped. You just have to be the better alternative, the safer alternative, the more respectable, truer alternative.
But the mission is the story. It's why people followed him, and it's why people continue to obsess over him to this day. And the way he went about it, it was mortifying. It was cruel, and it was rare. But the sentiment of wanting to change the world, that's in all of us. And that's where the fear begins. You see this a lot in business. I guess now is probably the time to lighten the tone and play that clip from the show Silicon Valley.
We're making the world a better place.
Making the world a better place?
A better place. A better place.
Making the world a better place.
Just make everything.
And everyone will come to you and say, we're making the world a better place. But can you trust them? Can you actually, if someone comes up to you and says, oh, right, I'm going to make the world a better place, and and you have to follow me, right? That's why I don't promise to make the world a better place. I'm looking for 100 people who themselves want to make the world a better place, because in the end, you can only trust yourself. Okay. And the beauty of what I'm doing is I'm looking for 100 people who all start from the ground up, right? To start amassing fame and fortune, to start building their own kingdoms where they can build a safe space for people who follow them, for their followers, right? Because who else can you trust? You can't trust your leaders. All the world governments have all been penetrated by the World Economic Forum, right? That we've been sold out by our leaders. You can't trust Biden. You can't trust Sunak. You can't trust anyone anymore. Okay, you can't trust the tech founders. They're all making secret deals in the back. They're all are shadow players in the back, and in essence, the only person that you can really truly trust is yourself. And even then, like, can you trust yourself? Like, because you're being programmed by social media. You're being programmed by TikTok. The next generation's fucked. They're being programmed by TikTok. Okay, so we're the last group of people that have the ability to think for ourselves. We're the last people who can make a positive change in the world, right? If you're a good person and you want to do something good with your life, you have to step up and become a leader and save humanity. It has to be you. If you trust, anyone else who says, "Oh, we're going to save the world," you're only advancing their agenda, right? But you got to advance your own agenda, because you're your own agenda that you can truly believe in.
Good, right? The problem is we all have different definitions of what that could mean. I'll hit you with another quote. This time I will not change the words. This is actually about startups. There are lots of bad reasons to start a company, but there's only one good legitimate reason, and I think you know what it is: to change the world. Phil Lieben, Evernote CEO. If you get a charismatic leader with a grandiose mission, everything else gets easier. And that applies to cults and startups. In fact, startups need a good leader so badly that if you take one away from a startup, you tend to just watch them tank. Take Zappos, the shoe store that's also revolutionary.
I mean, Zappos, I believe, their leader recently, a couple years ago, committed suicide. He, I don't know, I think he burnt like toxins, and he breathed in and suffocated to death. But yeah, these people, they think they're doing something great, but they're really just fucking people over.
That's a weird sentence. This is Tony Hsieh, the CEO and founder of Zappos, and he is a textbook charismatic leader. Just as Manson called his followers his family, Tony calls the employees of Zappos his Zapponians. This is an example of something called specialized language, and it's a really strong way to create an in-group and out-group dynamic between your team and the rest of the world. In fact, it's so strong that it's one of the most commonly observed threads between all cults, and also way too many businesses. In fact, Scientologists have so much specialized vocabulary that their glossary has a higher word count than my first book. Amanda Montell, in her brilliant and important book Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism, explores this concept in greater depth. Montell says creating special language to influence people's behavior and beliefs is so effective, in part simply because speech is the first thing we're willing to change about ourselves, and also...
And that's also what's going on in the world with, with freedom of speech at the moment. It's like people are making up new genders. People are making up, all these words that you can say and can't say, because they're trying to eliminate language. They're trying to bring in their own cult ideologies. So even things like, the LGBTQ people, the gender fluid people, everyone knows there's only two genders, and now they're bringing in 55, 69, probably 100 by now. You can't keep up with that shit. Why are they trying to change language? It's because they're bringing in their own cult. So you can't trust these people who bring about these fake changes that don't make sense, right? You can't trust these people. So the only people you can trust is yourself. The people, your leaders, you're not gonna be able to trust them, because they'll do anything for a fucking vote. They'll do anything to remain in power so they can plunder and pillage, rob you blind while you're just plugged into the metaverse watching, sports or, Saturday Night Live or where the fuck you watch. The future of the world is truly fucked, and if you want to make a change, it has to be you, because don't trust anyone else.
The last thing we let go.
The idea that you're making software for sending email spam, but you talk about being lovable and changing the world and how you're on this mission and you save people's lives. I mean, that's ridiculous.
In the words of Amanda Montell again, language doesn't work to manipulate people into believing things they don't want to believe. Instead, it gives them license to believe ideas they're already open to. What I'm trying to say is Tony made the Zapponians feel like part of a team. That's what they wanted. They wanted to love Zappos. Why not? Make work fun. In fact, so strong was this love that there was a time when Zapponians would literally rap about how good it was to work at Zappos.
Yo, it's the Z to the A double POS. We put a smile on your face with the box on your doorstep. You deserve the best, so we flex the positivity. Good vibes all night. Can you feel the energy?
But before we write off Tony as some cult leader, keep in mind that he actually tried to get rid of leaders altogether. In 2013, he had this weird attempt to turn Zappos into what he called a holacracy, a different type of business structure, a self-managed workplace free from hierarchies, middle managers, and leaders. Kind of more like a city. And within a year of this holacracy, 29% of his staff had left. It didn't work out for a lot of them. But hey, those people were free to go. It's not like cults, where it's very, very hard to leave. And that's one of the big differences. While both cults and startups have charismatic leaders, the followers are joining the cults for some higher purpose.
And if you don't develop your charisma, if you don't develop your own fame, if you don't develop your own following, you're going to get, at some stage, it's going to happen in your life where you get swept up into some sort of cult, right? Like even CrossFit is a cult, right? Yoga, what's that yoga guy? Bikram yoga, even that's fucking a cult. Some cult leader is going to come and fuck you up. That's what I'm saying is the best protection from any cult is for you to become a charismatic king, right? Where you build a kingdom and create a safe space for your citizens, right? Where they'll be free from cults, where they can trust one another, where you build relationships based on loyalty, friendship, and trust. Because it's the only thing left. Like everyone else is going to get totally fucked. People are going to lose their jobs. People are going to lose their livelihoods. We live in the most oppressed society ever. Like depression's up. Do you know what I mean? And we live, and at the same time, we live in the most advanced society that's ever existed. If you believe that you want to make a positive change in the world, right, don't trust other people, right? Because most likely it's a fucking cult. Trust yourself. Become a king. Rise to the top. And if you believe that you are capable of doing such a thing, if you believe it's your destiny to do it, this is your call to action. This is your chance in life. This is the moment in the film where you step up and become the king that you were destined, the king that was promised. But that is it for today. Until next time, don't join a fucking cult.